You are tuned in to a CS Podcast exclusive presented by NFLDraftBible.com.
Welcome back to the CS Podcast presented by NFLDraftBible.com. I am your host, Chris Shanafelt, and joining the show now is one of the more well-respected writers of college football out there. He covers the FCS for Hero Sports. He's their senior staff writer over there at Hero Sports, and it's really an absolute pleasure to welcome onto the show Brian McLaughlin. Be sure to follow him on Twitter at Brian Mac Writer. That's Brian MacWriter. He's a must follow, especially if you're listening to this show, because that likely means that you are a fan of the FCS and small school football in general. Brian, thanks for taking some time this afternoon. How's everything going?
It's going great, Chris, and appreciate that intro. I don't know that it's all true, but but I appreciate you saying it, and we definitely enjoy covering this level. It has been one of the things that we've had probably the most fun with, this level in D2 and D3. So the response from the fans has been great, and we enjoy doing it.
Yeah, it's certainly an underrated level of football. I don't think that it gets as much love as it should. I mean, whether you're talking about the fan bases or the overall talent in the FCS, and you could even say the same for Division II and Division III. I mean, there is some really good talent in these levels, and we're starting to see it now get a little bit more love. As College Game Day, they've been to North Dakota State a couple times. They've been to JMU before, but just this past weekend they were at James Madison University. So let's take a look back at some of the action that took place this past weekend, Brian. And let's start off with that game that you were in attendance for, and that is Villanova at James Madison. Both teams ranked. Of course, James Madison, the defending champs and currently number one in the nation. ESPN College Game Day was there as well. Now, I know that JMU has one of those best fan bases in the nation, certainly in the FCS that I just mentioned, but what was the atmosphere like there in Harrisonburg? And just tell me what you took away from the 30-8 JMU victory, because, for those who might just be looking at the stat sheet, looking at the final score, they'll say, you know what, this game wasn't really all too close, but that wasn't the case in this one.
Yeah, it was a great game for 3.5 quarters. And the game was obviously a big part of why we were there, but the atmosphere was too. And so to answer your first question, it was a zoo. It was an absolute zoo. Being around the game day show, the reaction to game day, being there, students sleeping on blankets out in the open. It was kind of chilly. It wasn't brutally cold, but it was chilly. And they did that so they had good, they weren't going to be sitting, but a good spot for the show the next day. That was amazing. The game atmosphere, 27,000 fans. It's the second biggest crowd they'd ever had. It was loud. A quality opponent, played great defense. The game was 16-8 midway through the fourth quarter. So Villanova's defense was doing a great job. Obviously, JMU's was too. So two teams that I think are a lock for the playoffs. And just all the way around, how could you do it any better as far as all the things aligning for kind of a perfect weekend to display FCS football?
Yeah, and again, I mean, with college game day there and the build-up to this game, I mean, there's a lot of excitement there. Again, the defending champs at home, one of the top fan bases in the nation. I mean, I got to think it was a great time, and not to mention the great overall game as well. Well, now with this week in the books, the Dukes are 6-0. Again, the number one team in the nation, and have not allowed more than 14 points in a game yet this season. Brian, when turning to JMU, when focusing on this team, I mean, there is so much to like. Where do you rank this defense at? I mean, they're certainly up there. Would you say they're the number one defense in the nation, in your opinion?
I don't know. I mean, North Dakota State's right there too, and I know that sounds like I'm wussing out on a tough question, but is it really all that surprising that, and I don't think anybody will argue this, that the two best teams in the country have the two best defenses.
Right.
I think they're kind of interchangeable. I do think that North Dakota State has faced a tougher schedule than James Madison. So I think you could make the argument for the Bison, because you think about it, they went against Eastern Washington with Gage Goodrich. They've gone against Youngstown State. They've played in the Valley in general. And JMU has had some tough teams too. Delaware's a very, very good, especially defensive team. Maine is no walk in the park. And Villanova's very good. And obviously they knocked off an FBS in East Carolina. So I think you'd have to say those are your two best defenses right there. Statistically, if you just pull the charts out, that's the best two in scoring defense and total defense. So big shock that they're number one and number two in the rankings too. Huh?
Yeah, right. Well, like you said, I mean, and we've seen it year in and year out. I mean, more times than not, you'll find that defenses do win championships. I know football, both in college and in the pro, that it's turned more into an offensive game. At least that's what a lot of people get excited about. But, hey, you still need to have a good defense if you want to go anywhere. Now, Brian, the start that James Madison has gotten off to isn't a great surprise, seeing as they are the defending champs. They returned a lot of starters from last season. A team that I figured would be pretty good, but even I have to admit, I'm a bit surprised as to the start that they've gotten off to, especially their offense is South Dakota, who you guys over at Hero Sports have ranked just behind those two teams that you just mentioned, James Madison and North Dakota State. South Dakota is ranked number 3 on your guys' poll over at Hero Sports. From one of the top defenses in the nation from JMU to now one of the top offenses in the country. Brian, how impressed are you from the start that this USD team has gotten off to?
Yeah, they're the biggest surprise of the year. And last night I was doing a radio show in Fargo, and Keith Brake is the host, and he asked, about USD. And, I mean, he and I pretty much agreed even back in August that it's not like we thought South Dakota would be bad. It was just I would have thought maybe a middle-of-the-pack to upper third type team in the Valley, but not this. This has been ridiculous, Now, they have some tough games, on the road ahead, like at Fargo. I think that's going to be a tough one for them. I mean, they've won all their games, but they've had some close ones. In their more competitive matchups, they've given up, 30, 35 points. So, obviously, Chris Streveler at quarterback and that offense, or they may get into some shootouts, and they're going to have to be able to do what they've done so far, which is, outscore a little bit when they play the better teams. But, hey, they've taken care of business so far, haven't they? And they sure look formidable. I think they're clearly the number 3 team in the country right now.
And I would agree with you, and you mentioned them. South Dakota quarterback Chris Streveler, at least 6 games in, certainly a hot name when talking about that Walter Payton Award, the Player of the Year Award, in the FCS. I think there's no doubt that you have to bring up Chris Streveler, who, of course, is getting it done through the air and on the ground, leading USD in both categories, and certainly a big reason why they're averaging 47 points a game. Again, we're chatting with Brian McLaughlin, the FCS senior staff writer over at HeroSports.com. Follow him on Twitter at BrianMacWriter. And Brian, seeing as I'm broadcasting out of the state of Illinois, seeing as I'm from the state of Illinois, we have a lot of FCS teams to talk about here in the state, and let's focus on on the FCS programs that we have here in Illinois, and there's quite a few of them, beginning with Western Illinois. In just a bit, I'll be talking with quarterback Sean McGuire here shortly. I really wasn't sure what to think of the Leathernecks entering the season, especially offensively. I mean, they lost their 2 top wide receivers, Lance Lenore and Joey Borsellino. But with that said, their offense has been their strength, with guys like Jalen Acklin and sophomore running back Max Norris stepping up big time. Entering the season, I mean, what were your thoughts on this Western Illinois football team? I mean, they're coached very well. I have a lot of respect for head coach Charlie Fisher and what he's been able to do with that program in just the year and a half that he's been there. He's really turning things around. They're 5-1 right now. Again, me personally, I wasn't too sure what to expect from this team, but they're one of the more impressive teams in the nation when talking Western Illinois.
Yeah, and they've got a good opportunity this weekend, I think, with North Dakota State, if I remember the schedule correctly. As much as I cannot say that I thought South Dakota would do what they've done, Western Illinois, I did feel strongly about in the preseason, and we've got it on the record a couple times. I just have a feeling about this program, and I think they're a top third program in the way things are going right now. And, a lot of it does come down to Coach Fisher. He's been in big places. He's done big things. He was a big part of that Richmond team 2 years ago that went to North Dakota State in the national semifinals. He's been at Penn State. He's been at North Carolina State. He's been at Vanderbilt. He knows how to put a program together, and he's been in big places. So I'm not surprised that they're doing well. They're very tough. They're 5 points away from being undefeated, and that's the loss to South Dakota. Clearly the best team in Illinois right now from an FCS standpoint, and you could make some other arguments, about some of the bigger ones. So very, very well done. Obviously a playoff team if the season ends today, and going to be a tough matchup for somebody outside the Valley in that first round.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And as you said, this weekend is going to be a big one for the Leathernecks. A lot of eyes are going to be on that game at Fargo, North Dakota, taking on the Bison. Staying in the Missouri Valley, Brian, how about the beatdown that the Southern Illinois Salukis handed to the Illinois State Redbirds, man? I'm really blown away. Speaking of head coaches, Charlie Fisher doing a fantastic job over at Western Illinois. How about the job that Nick Hill has done in the year and a half that he's been in back in Carbondale with the Southern Illinois Salukis? I'm really impressed with what he's been able to do as well. Quarterback Sam Straub is coming off of a game where he threw for nearly 370 yards and 4 touchdowns. Running back DJ Davis is a big-time playmaker, both on the ground and in the receiving game. This outcome against Illinois State was a very surprising one for me. The Redbirds, as everybody knows, has been the state's top FCS team for quite a few years now, one of the top FCS teams in all the nation for a few years now. How, if at all, does this change your view on both of these squads, Southern Illinois and Illinois State?
Well, it definitely made me wonder a little bit about Illinois State. The last 2 weeks I've really thought were games that, at least on paper, looked like they would be, competitive games at least, but definitely not blowout loss for ISU. They were playing some of the best defense in the country. They are tough as nails in general, the way that Coach Spack does things. And so it was surprising. And, I touched on this last time you and I talked, with Nick at Southern Illinois. I just think you're seeing the growth of something special there. And, he played there. He had his time in the NFL. And I did get to sit down with him down in the Tampa area where I live, and he recruits the Tampa Bay and Orlando area for skill kids, which makes sense. That's what a lot of people do. And I got a chance to sit down with him one evening and just kind of pick his brain about the philosophy of what he's doing. He's recruiting really, really well. So I think what you're seeing is the beginning of an ascension there, if that's even possible in the Valley, because the Valley is brutal. But I think if there's room up there, I think he's going to squeeze his way in there. And I thought that this past weekend was maybe the first real big example of that. And they gave Memphis fits in the Liberty Bowl a couple weeks back. I thought that was pretty impressive, especially when you consider, Memphis just knocked off Navy. That's a good program, Memphis. And they hung in there for 3+ quarters with them in the Liberty Bowl. So I'm not surprised that it's starting to look up there. And, when you looked at their scores last year, they were in almost every game. They weren't that far away from winning 8 or 9, if you look at their schedule. So I think there's good things going on with Nick and the SIU Salukis.
Yeah, the Salukis are now 3-3 coming off of that win against Illinois State. The Redbirds now 4-2, so they're still in good standings, but they are coming off of 2 pretty big losses now against Northern Arizona and, of course, Southern Illinois. They host South Dakota. So another big matchup coming to Normal, Illinois this Saturday. Certainly another game that a lot of eyes will be on. I know I'll be tuned in for sure. And lastly, a team that's really hard to kind of gauge, at least so far this season, in my opinion, Brian, is the Eastern Illinois Panthers. Number 1 in the Ohio Valley. They're 5-2, coming off of their second double overtime victory this season, the first being against Tennessee State, and then this past weekend at Murray State. Offensively, at least this past weekend, the Panthers couldn't get much done through the air, throwing 3 interceptions. They weren't successful at all through the air. But on the ground, they combined for 350 yards and 2 scores, 236 of those yards, and a touchdown being by junior running back Isaiah Johnson alone. And defensively, linebacker Nick Horn, who I believe is underrated as hell. There might be some bias there. He and I both went to the same high school, same grade. So really happy with what he's been able to do over there in his career over at Eastern Illinois. I mean, he had 7 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, and a key forced fumble that really kept Eastern Illinois' hopes alive into winning that game. Now, can you understand why it might be tough to put a lot of trust in this Eastern Illinois football team, Brian? I mean, how are they viewed in your eyes nationally?
Well, I mean, as you said, they've got 5 wins. They've played mostly the lower half of the Ohio Valley. They're about to hit a stretch in the next 4 games where they're going to play a national superpower this weekend with Jacksonville State. And I don't, at home or on the road, I don't think it's going to matter in that one. I think they're going to get knocked around. But the toughest thing, I think, is the fact that they have to go on the road at Tennessee Martin and Austin Peay, who is kind of coming out of nowhere after that long losing streak. If those games are in Illinois, maybe those are a little different, but they're on the road. I think those are 2 games that I don't think they can get in with a 7-win schedule, 7-win record. So, and they're not going to beat Jacksonville State. So you would think at home they could handle Eastern Kentucky. So there's your 6th win. But you're going to have to go on the road and get a 7th and probably an 8th to get in the playoffs. And I just don't see them winning 3 of these last 4 games. All the games that they've won this year have been within, 3 points, 2 points overtime. And then the 2 they've lost, they got pounded. So if they get it done, kudos to them because it's a tough stretch coming up. But I have a hard time seeing that happen at this point. I really do. And I think what you're going to see in the OVC, and this is crazy to say, is Austin Peay possibly winning 8 games and being the second OVC team in the playoffs. Could you believe that?
I cannot.
No way I would have predicted that. No, it's crazy.
I mean, they like you mentioned. I mean, Austin Peay. I mean, they've got to be the most improved program in the nation. I mean, they've. I think over the last 3 years, they're something like 1-35, and it probably even goes worse if you keep going back. And here they are now, starting the season 4-3. They could finish the season winless, and they'd probably still be one of the more have that comeback label, comeback of the year label. I mean, just what they've been able to do this season. I mean, they are a really good team. In that division, not a great division in the Ohio Valley, but there's some teams. I mean, of course, Jacksonville State. You have to mention first Tennessee State, this Eastern Illinois squad. There are some respectable teams in this conference, and now when you talk about some respectable teams, you better mention this Austin Peay football team. Anyways, Brian, that's all I have for you. I really do appreciate your time and insight, man. It was really great being able to chat with you and kind of pick your brain and get your knowledge on the FCS here this afternoon. Before I let you go, please remind our listeners where they can check out your work at.
Yeah, we're at herosports.com, and we do have an FCS section. Do a lot of podcasting with players and coaches and all kinds of people, not just players and coaches. Actually, we've kind of expanded into fans and play-by-play guys. And then on Twitter, look, we're very interactive on Twitter because we appreciate our readers and we appreciate the fans, and we want to talk to you. I mean, we do a lot of interactive one-on-one stuff with our fans, and my Twitter account is brianmcwriter.com or at Brian McGuire, and our staff address is Hero Sports FCS, at Hero Sports FCS. So we'd love to meet you on the Twitter sphere, as they say.
Hey, you're a must follow. You have great tweets. I mean, every time I see your name on my timeline, I have to stop and see what you're putting out, whether it's work, information, just a random tweet. I'm stopping and looking at what Brian McLaughlin is tweeting and what he has going out in the Twitter sphere, as they like to call it. Brian, thanks so much. Hopefully we can do this again in the near future, and all the best.
Absolutely, Chris. Would love to do it, and thanks a bunch for having me on, man.
Welcome back to the CS Podcast, presented by the NFL Draft Bible, NFLDraftBible.com, bringing you the names that you need to know first since 2002. I am your host, Chris Shanafelt, and joining the show now is one of the top quarterbacks in all of the FCS, representing the 5-1 Leathernecks of Western Illinois University, who are coming off of a big 49-30 victory over Missouri State. It is a pleasure to welcome onto the program Sean McGuire. And Sean, I really do appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule as you guys prepare for the North Dakota State Bison this Saturday. How's everything going?
It's going good. We've been preparing. We just came off a practice today. That was our second practice, really, of preparation for NDSU. But it was good. We got after it today, full pads, more of a intense work day, and we're feeling good. We're preparing and taking into account a lot of different scenarios. Obviously, it's going to be loud there, so we're ready for that. And I thought today we had a good practice preparing, and just looking forward to building upon tomorrow and on Thursday, and moving forward towards Saturday.
Here we are, 6 games into the season. You guys are 5-1, ranked 10th in the nation in the Stats FCS poll that was released yesterday. You guys could easily be 6-0 right now. Nonetheless, you can't change anything in the past. How do you feel about the start that you and your team has gotten off to this season?
I feel great about it. I think we're in a real good spot right now. I think we're right where we're supposed to be. Like you said, we could be 6-0. We played a really good South Dakota team. Who's proven that they are, in fact, a really good team, and had a chance at the end to win that game even. So, if we don't shoot ourselves in the foot so much, we'll how that goes. But, we're 5-1. We like where we are going forward. Obviously we've got some tough games down the stretch. And that's how it is in the Missouri Valley. Every week is a battle, and but we look forward to that. We relish in that opportunity each week to just go out and play the best of the best, and that's what we got this week. So.
You know what, you mentioned it, the Missouri Valley Football Conference. It's the toughest conference in the FCS. It's certainly one of the toughest conferences in the country. Honestly, I think you can make an argument that it is the toughest conference in the country, the most competitive conference in the country, regardless of what division you're talking about. I look at conferences. There's always, strong conferences year in and year out. The Missouri Valley is always at the top. What's it like just playing this competition week in and week out? I mean, nowadays the SEC isn't all of that, but they do have people think of the best football conference in the country, and they think of the SEC, and for years and years, people call the Missouri Valley the SEC of the FCS. I mean, what's it like going against this competition week in and week out where, you really don't have any gimme games on the schedule. You don't really have any teams that you could just write off and say, you know what, we can take it easy this week and just, overlook an opponent. You do not have that luxury in the Missouri Valley.
Right. We definitely don't. And again, that's something that we like. We love that. That's, you want to beat the best, obviously, to be the best. So that's our goal every week. Every week we play a team that is a playoff contender, and a lot of teams are going to be in a national title hunt. So it's a good test for us every week. Every environment we play on the road is a hostile environment. Everybody that comes into our place is looking to make the playoffs and make a run, and so it's always it's the gauntlet, people call it, as Missouri Valley. But like I said, we relish in that opportunity to just go out and compete against the very best, and that's how we recruit. That's how we practice. That's how we prepare. It's to beat the best. So, every week is fun. Every week's a different challenge, a different battle, different atmosphere, you name it. But, I love our team, and, every week I just look forward to going to battle with them.
Sean, the Leathernecks, you guys have a lot of playmakers on both sides of the ball. Right before the season started, I interviewed your guys' star senior linebacker, Brett Taylor, who's gotten off to a very nice start to the season. And just looking at this team's roster, you guys lost some really big playmakers from a year ago as well, including the best wide receiver duo in Western Illinois history, two guys that you had great chemistry with in Lance Lenore and Joey Borsellino. I knew that you guys would still have playmakers, including yourself, Steve McShane, but I wasn't sure who would step up at wide receiver. And Jalen Acklin has been that guy, to say the least. He had an incredible performance against South Dakota with 19 of your completions being to Acklin for 343 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, one of the best single-handed games by a wide receiver in FCS history. In your opinion, I mean, has there been much of a drop-off there in the weapons this year compared to the weapons you had over the past year or two? Because it sure doesn't look like it. And, to see guys step up in the absences of Lance Lenore, who's now in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys, and a Joey Borsellino, who, in my honest opinion, I'm quite surprised he's not on at least a practice squad in the NFL or even in the CFL, AFL, whatever. Two elite wide receivers that did it for a very long time in the FCS, to say the least. I mean, has there been much of a drop-off?
Not at all, honestly. And I love, Lance and Joey to death. Those are two of my, close friends, and helped me, get to where I am today. And, when I was just a young freshman playing, and those are two, like you said, two of the best receivers in FCS history. And so a lot of people, going into this year, that's all you ever heard was, how are we going to replace them and this and that. And, I was saying all camp, I think this year could be better than the core we had last year. And that's including, like I said, two of, the best wide receiver duo of all time in the FCS. So, but that's just a confidence that I have in our receivers. And I also said, wait a couple weeks. People don't know their names right now. This was in preseason camp, but wait a couple weeks and you'll start to realize them, and not just from our fans, but from fans all over the country. And lo and behold, a couple weeks have gone by, and now everyone knows who Jalen Acklin is. People are starting to realize who Ezekiel Shore is. Brandon Gaston's a great receiver for us. We got a lot of guys that can contribute and make plays, and I just love our receiver group. They just do what they're asked. They block, they catch, they run the ball. They do it all. So I love this group. Honestly, I think that we have more chemistry. I think we're more explosive than last year as a receiver group, and it's paying off for us.
Why is that? I mean, specifically the chemistry that you have with Jalen Acklin. I mean, this is a guy, as you mentioned, nobody heard about this guy heading into the season. I like to think I know what I'm talking about when it comes to FCS football, specifically in Illinois, Eastern Illinois, Western Illinois, Illinois State, Southern, etc. Seeing as I'm from the state, seeing as I'm still in the state, and I'll be flat out honest, here he is, senior year, absolutely balling out, 46 receptions, 828 yards, 8 touchdowns. By far your guys' leading wide receiver, by far, certainly on the radar of every team in the country, and one of the top wide receivers now in the nation. Like you said, I mean, everybody knows who Jalen Acklin is now. What is it about that connection that you guys just have been so successful, at least to start the season 6 weeks in?
I mean, really, for me and Jay, we've just always kind of had that connection. We've always had that trust, and we've always been really, really close. Me and Jalen talked about coming here even in high school when we were both getting recruited, and we were 2 early offers here at Western, and we both kind of said, hey, like, I want to play with you, and he wanted to play with me, and we ended up doing it. We ended up rooming together freshman year and on. So, we rooming together helped us. We became like real close friends, and from that, then obviously playing together becomes a lot easier. We have that trust with each other. We have that competitive drive to want the other one to succeed. And that's the most fun for me, is seeing Jalen not get as many opportunities so many years, leading up to this moment. He would come to me all the time sad, and, down and out, just, wanting to play. And I knew what he had in him. Everyone did. But it just, like you said, doesn't have Joey Borsellino and Lance Lawrence in front of you per se. So, I knew what he was going to do this year. And, he trusted in me and I trusted in him. And like I said, we love seeing both of us succeed. I love seeing Jalen succeed. He loves seeing me succeed. And then we just feed off each other, honestly. So it's been awesome watching him do what he's doing. And, I just expect him to continue to do that.
We're giving a lot of love to some of your weapons on the offensive side of the ball there. Now talk about the defensive side of the ball. Like I said, Brett Taylor, he's also another guy that's known all across the country, a fantastic linebacker. What's it like to not only go against Brett, but this defense as a whole, every day in practice? How does this make you guys better and more prepared for your Saturday opponent?
It definitely prepares us really, really well. Coach Grantham he's the new D coordinator for us this year. It's his first year, came from Louisville. And he is a unbelievable defensive mind. He just gets it. And he does a lot of really confusing things that makes it hard on me, makes it hard on the line, the receivers, so on and so forth. And, he just makes people like Brett that much better. And Brett's already, good enough to begin with. So it's kind of scary sometimes just seeing how good all these guys can be. But it's a great defense, and they're playing at a high level, and we're just excited seeing them play this week.
We're talking with Western Illinois quarterback Sean McGuire here on the CS podcast presented by NFL Draft Bible, NFLDraftBible.com, bringing you the names that you need to know first since 2002. Visit NFLDraftBible.com. Again, I am your host, Chris Shanafelt. And Sean, just a few more questions for you, and then I'll let you go. Really do appreciate your time. You're only in your junior season, and this is relatively, as I look at your guys' roster, this is relatively a pretty young roster overall, especially just focusing on that offensive side of the ball. How exciting is that for you to know that, you still have another year left after this? And obviously the season's not over yet. The goal is to not only play in the FCS National Championship game, but to ultimately win it. And I think your guys' future is really, really bright, not only with you under center, but with the running backs that you have behind you, with that offensive line, with some of the guys that we're seeing step up both at receiver and then even on defense. And the guy at the head of it all, head coach Charlie Fisher. I was just talking with Brian McLaughlin of Hero Sports, and I told him, I really do hate to play favorites, but if I had to choose like my favorite head coach in the country, I think it's Charlie Fisher, with what he's been able to do with your guys' program. What's it like to play under him, and how excited are you for, again, not looking ahead to the future too much, but how excited are you just to know that a lot of your teammates are going to be back with you next year?
It's exciting for sure. The direction of the program is going is really, really exciting. Inside and out, the locker room chemistry we have is great going forward. We have, my class is strong, and it's a big class, and then the classes below me too, are just following in suit. And so, I'll tell you that, Coach Rich is definitely my favorite coach in the country too. And I know I can speak on behalf of the whole team when I say that, they would all probably say the same, because we just love playing for him. And, he's just a guy that you want to go play for every day. And he's you got to tip your hat to him, because he's done an unbelievable job. And this is his second year here, and already just everything's just starting to change around us. And just the whole feel of the program's different. And, it's real exciting. And, I have a feeling that when I come back here in a couple years now down the road, and everything is going to look way different. So he's doing an unbelievable job. And like I said, we'd all got to battle for him any day. So.
Well, up next, you guys head to Fargo, North Dakota, to take on North Dakota State, the Bison. In my opinion, it's the FCS game of the week. A lot of eyes are definitely going to be on this one. I'm sure even a few NFL and pro scouts will be in attendance, because there's going to be a lot of talent on both sides of on both sidelines in this one. Now, I know, like you said, you just finished your second practice studying for this game. Is there anything you can tell me on what are you guys going to have to do in order to succeed and walk away from one of the FCSs or really one of the country's hardest places to play at in Fargo, North Dakota?
Yeah, I mean, offensively, we're going to definitely have to just stay balanced. If we can stay balanced, I think we'll have a good shot, be able to run the ball and pass off of it. And then defensively, obviously, we got to be able to stop the run. But playing in that dome, it's definitely a special place to play, a cool place to play. I was there my redshirt freshman year, and, it's no joke. It's the hype is real about it. But at the end of the day, you just got to play football. And we've been preparing, for different scenarios, like I said, like the noise and things like that. But, it's an awesome place to play. And really, we're just excited to play there. And it's a football field at the end of the day with the ball on it. And you go toe-to-toe and you play football. And that's exactly what we're going to do.
Hey, and with the way you guys got started this season, with the way that they've gotten started this season, it should be a hell of a game again. Probably the game of the week, North Dakota State hosting Western Illinois. Final question for you, Sean, then I'll let you go. This is a question that I like to end all of my player spotlight shows with, at least lately, and that is if you could not only – and again, game of the week, I mean, you don't have to do too much to sell yourself, but if you could sell not only yourself but the Leathernecks football team as a whole for, let's not say just this Saturday against North Dakota State, but the rest of the season, what would you say? How would you bring in more of an audience to the Western Illinois football team?
I would say that we just got a tight-knit group and one that wants to play hard-nosed football. And if you like that, then, I would want you to come watch us, and I think you'd enjoy what you see. I think we got a lot of tough guys on our team that, we just rally around each other. And when we play together and we get in rhythm with each other and we get on a roll, I think, we're real hard to stop. So I would say that. I think, we pride ourselves, one of our mottos is tradition of tough. That's kind of what we go off of. We kind of live and die with being that kind of, rough-nosed, blue-collar team. And we take pride in that, and, we just look forward to going out every week and then proving that.
Without a doubt, and you know what, I mean, you could be a fan, if you're just a fan of the sport of football, I mean, you guys have somebody at just about every position that is must-watch. You at quarterback, again, Brett Taylor at linebacker, and you know what, I lied, I'm sorry, Sean. Here's my final question. I mean, I would feel guilty if I didn't bring this name up. How about the emergence of sophomore running back Max Norris, who so far leads the team in rushing, over 450 yards and 4 touchdowns? I mean, what's it like to be in control of one of the more balanced offenses in the nation? I mean, I got to think that makes everybody's job easier on the offensive side of the ball. You guys just keep opposing defenses guessing. Are you going to pass? Are you going to run? And what sucks most about it for defenses is that you guys have so much success at doing both.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, I'm real proud of Max. He worked his tail off this offseason. Honestly, he lost a lot of weight. He was more of a fullback a year ago, and the year before that too. He was more of a fullback type, 240 pounds. He's got that frame where he's just built like an ox, So he embraced that role when it was his. But then, obviously one hell of a running back and proved that. And he lost a ton of weight, got so much faster, so much quicker. He's just like a natural downhill running back. Has the quick twitch, has the power. Perfect for this offense and perfect in complement to Steve McShane. So for our offensive line and, Coach Elliott calling the plays for us on the offensive side of the ball as a coordinator, I know he loves it. I know I love it. I know our line loves it. And I know Steve and Max love it because they just compliment each other. And the bond that we've all made is strong. And I can't wait to see us just continue to build. Those two in the backfield is definitely a scary sight.
Hey, you know what? I don't mean to bring any bad luck to you guys, but I'm really looking forward to it. And again, I know we got to take it week by week, but man, it's going to be really exciting when the FCS playoffs start and the Leathernecks of Western Illinois are in it. And I could see you guys going really far, man. I mean, a really talented, a really fun group to watch. And really, man, I mean, it's really been a treat. Thank you. And thank you so much for just taking the time out of your busy schedule, especially getting ready for this big-time opponent, big-time in-conference opponent in North Dakota State on the road. Really do appreciate it, Sean. You were great, and hopefully we can do this again in the near future, man.
Absolutely. No, not a problem, Christian. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Anytime. Hey, take care. Best of luck this Saturday.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.